This is a very exciting day in the world of narrative AI filmmaking. Why? Because yesterday, Where the Robots Grow, the world's first AI feature film, dropped on YouTube, made by a small team of filmmakers based here in the UK. And this is a really big deal because this is proof of concept. This shows how you can take AI and take existing tools, plug them into a filmmaking process with a small budget, small team film production company and make something magical. I'm hoping to set up an interview with the guys that made this film to find out more about this because I've got so many questions. But today I'm going to talk about two things: what I think that they did, how I think they made it, and then a list of 10 things that I think that they did really, really well, and what did they get wrong? What did they screw up on? What do they need to do next time? That comes afterwards. So first, what defines an AI movie? What gives them the right to claim the world's first AI feature film? I don't think that these guys are claiming for a second that they used AI for the whole thing, and nor should they. I think that AI has been a major component, but not the only animation tool used here. I think motion capture and other CGI techniques and tools have been used together. And that, by the way, is where this should go. That's exactly where AI should be. The goal should never be for AI to replace Hollywood and replace filmmakers and replace all this. It should be like the next evolution of CGI, a tool that you plug in for storytellers to use to tell great big vision stories. So with that said, here's 10 things that I think that they've done really, really well. First, story. And story absolutely has to come first. When I started watching the movie, I quickly forgot that I was watching AI, and that is critical because if the tool is the star of the show, you're doing something wrong. The story has to be the star of the show, and the tool has to be completely anonymous. The story was brilliant. It was an engaging little story. It ticked all the right boxes. As a screenwriter who spent more than a decade working on the feature film that I'd most like to watch, I watched carefully for some of the key elements in the storytelling techniques that they used, and it's great. Well done to Tom Patton, by the way, who wrote and directed this whole thing. Gotta say, he's done a great job, and I'm impressed. The second thing that they've done well, the animation technique. I love the hand-drawn animations style that they've used. It allows you to hide a multitude of mistakes, and it allows you to create a style that once you get into, you go, oh, okay, that's how this story is being told, and you forget about it. And it gives you a lot of flexibility to create a visually imperfect story. It's very, very clever. And the third thing, because it's a children's story that they've created, it allows for simpler stories and simpler characters that children will be perfectly happy watching. Now, the other thing that worked really well is that this was fundamentally a robot story, and that meant they didn't have to worry about lip sync or facial expressions. And the way that the story unfolds is it's told in such a way that it doesn't require that in order for you to follow what's happening. There's still tension there. There's still really sentimental, kind of heart-touching storylines that allow you to really follow and feel for these characters without having to see the expressions on their face. The music, the camera movements, the pacing, the editing, all helps to kind of create a mood and a tone and a feeling that means you can watch a expressionless robot with nothing more than head movements to tell the story. The other advantage of this kind of robot story is the way the story was written. It required very little physical interaction between the characters. There was not a lot of points where they come into contact with each other, and that makes animation, even motion capture, more complex. If you've got kissing and romance and hugging and fighting and wrestling and those kind of physical kind of two people kind of intertwining together in one way or another, that becomes very complex for AI to get its head around, and for CGI, well, that becomes complicated too. So the story didn't require a lot of physical crossover of the characters in order for the story to be told. Very clever. Next, they used real voice actors instead of AI voices. We are a long, long way from being able to get meaningful performances from AI voices. It's hard enough getting an authentic performance from a real human actor and direct them properly so that you get the right kind of intonation and the right kind of delivery. Try doing that with AI, and it's nightmare. No. So they did that really well. Now, I mentioned already that I think that they've used motion capture, and motion capture allows you to have full control over the character's movements. And the advantage as well of having robots in a children's animated story is that they could probably get away with using entry-level motion capture techniques, whether it was motion capture suits or whether it was just camera and dots, and however they did it, I don't know yet, but they could get away with a lot with just having very generic body movements. They didn't have to pick up and record any subtle facial expressions or any subtle hand movements, and that's when it gets really tricky. And so the right kind of story for these tools that are available at the moment. The next thing is something I've been talking about for a while, which is I think they used AI to create the skins that go on the characters in the backgrounds, if not the whole backgrounds themselves. Character control is so difficult with AI that I think that the best way forwards is to use traditional motion capture, traditional CGI animation techniques, but to use the AI tool to create the skins, to create the worlds in the first place, and then from that point to hand over to the controllability and the consistency and continuity that you get with computer-controlled CGI character animations. I think that that will make it much easier to get exactly what you're looking for, rather than relentlessly prompting over and over and over to try and get the AI tool to have the character's hand here instead of there. You know, it's like, I wouldn't even want to try to tell a story with any degree of physical consistency with AI. I'd want to take the AI and blend that with the control that you get with motion capture and CGI gaming type assets. Now, the next great thing that they've done here is that this story and the way that it's told makes it really, really easy to create multilingual versions. They just need different voice actors, and potentially you could change the character of Pop to be something that isn't so North American farmer character to something that is culturally familiar to people in the Far East, or to people in South America, or to people in anywhere you want. You know, imagine having an African version of that for an African-centric audience. And that character, the wise old guide, being culturally customizable according to languages. That would be great, because I don't think it would be that hard to reprocess the whole movie with a different character replacing Pop. Multilingual versions should be really, really easy. So that means that they can have a global reach if they choose to do that next. And finally, and this is huge, the music. Well done.
Landing complete. Ejecting the asset now.
Max Sweary, I don't know your surname, sorry Max, but Max is credited as music and sound, and what an amazing job. I'd love to know more about how the music was put together, because it just sounded and felt cinematically brilliant. And long before AI came along, for years I've learned as a narrative filmmaker that you can have a story that is visually stunning, but the audio is terrible, and people will just have an awkward experience watching it and will have the impression that the quality is low. But you could have something where the visual quality is low and the audio quality is just pristine, and people will have the impression that this is a professional, slick product. Just works that way. And that's the great thing with AI filmmaking right now. You can still use traditional audio techniques to get something that, if you closed your eyes and listened to it, it could still sound cinematic, and you can do that on a relatively low budget in the grand scheme of things. Not to say, Max, your job was easy, but you did a great job. So what about the stuff they screwed up on? All the things that they messed up, they should have done better, and that they need to really improve for next time. Okay, here's the list. I've got nothing. That's the reality. I don't have a single thing on that list. I'm not blowing smoke, but I don't have anything to say that's negative about what I watched. I was so impressed. Given the state of the tools as they are at the moment, and given the size of the team, team of about 20, by the way. I counted them all up in the credits at the end and I came to 20 people, several of whom had the same surnames as other people. This is what small team, independent, low budget filmmaking is about. You're using family and friends to do all kinds of things, and the best thanks you can give them is a credit at the end of the movie. And there's a lot of that going on here. Brilliant. You've set the bar high. I mean, 11 out of 10. As a world first, what I'm grateful for is that it has landed and it is solid. It's capable, it's professional. And that's much better than a world first feature film using predominantly AI tools. If that had been bad and embarrassing, that would have been like,